What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with a little bit of a different take on a 3 looks video. I wanted to do a video dedicated to my thoughts on the new Benefit roller liner eyeliner. If you're not familiar, she looks like this and she's real cute. I asked you guys last week when I got a fresh one of these from Benefit if you would like to see a review on it, and it would not be a first impression because I've actually had this liner since I think it was either early November or late October. You may have seen on Benefit's Instagram stories that I got to debut this liner as a tutorial on their Instagram story for the first time, which I filmed in early November. So I've been using this behind the scenes for that entire period of time. I've also used it in a few videos. I just did my liner off camera and didn't tell you guys what I used. So today is definitely not a first impression, but what I can tell you about this liner is it is a felt tip. The tip of it is a lot longer than a lot of the other felt tip liners that I have, which I thought when I first got it was gonna make it cumbersome, but it actually makes it really easy to use if you're doing a classic wing, which I like a lot. Now, if you are familiar with what I usually think about eyeliners, usually I prefer a brush tip. And the reason that I usually prefer a brush tip is not so much how the eyeliner applies from a felt tip when it's fresh, but I don't usually like the way that felt tips wear over time because they usually get the little wiggle hair. You know what I'm talking about. But I've noticed recently that companies must be developing their felt tips a little bit differently, because this liner, as well as the Kat Von D Liner X, I've noticed I've been using them for quite a while and I haven't had that issue yet. So this is the liner that I've had since early November, and so far I have not gotten that little wiggly hair. But that being said, I did store this upside down and it leaked a little, so keep that in mind. So this liner is waterproof. It is super long wearing. I would say that it's on par with the Fenty eyeliner for as far as how long it wears throughout the day and how much it stands up to watery eyes. I also find that it's super black, and this is, out of all of the felt tip liners I own, the most matte. Now, the one liner that is definitely more matte than this one is the Kat Von D Inkwell liner. That is one of the most matte waterproof liners that I've ever used. But the difference is that that formula feels very thin and almost hard to drag across the lid. So while you get a very, very matte finish with that liner, and it's not just the Kat Von D one, by the way, I've had that experience with a lot of liners that come in like a felt tip that dips into the bottle when they're matte, that it doesn't have as much slip. So while you can get a very precise line, you have to kind of go back in with very short strokes to make it happen. Roller liner is the most matte that I've ever found without that being the case, if that makes sense. It's not quite as like completely like chalkboard matte as that, but it is pretty matte and I don't have that issue, so that's nice. But instead of doing a review today, I don't know, there's something about filming too many reviews of like a one standalone like little product in a row that I find too boring. Like, I feel uninspired uploading too many of them in a row. So in lieu of a first impression, since I had this for so long anyway, I figured today I would do a 3 looks video, except this time we're doing 3 graphic liner looks using this new liner from Benefit. Essentially, you can do any of these looks with your favorite liner. It doesn't matter what liner you're using. I just felt like this was a good way to combine showing you how that liner performs with doing some more creative looks that maybe you guys would want to recreate or would find more interesting to watch. So I thought that was a good way to do it, and that is what we're doing today. If you have any other questions about the liner that I didn't touch on, because I feel like that was a scatterbrained explanation and maybe I missed something. So if I missed something and you would like to know more about what I think about certain parts of the roller liner, please leave a comment down below and let me know what you would like to know, and I will do my best to answer. We have a lot of makeup to do today, so I'm just gonna get right into it after this. But first, please don't forget to leave a like on this video if you don't mind taking a second to do that, because it helps me tremendously and I super appreciate it. Like, so much I appreciate it. And also, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, because I would love to have you around, and that way you never miss a video going forward. All right, that's it. I'm going to go back in time real fast and start the first graphic liner look using the new Benefit roller liner, but you can use whatever liner you like. Okay, so for the first look, I want to create sort of It's sort of like a classic version of a graphic eyeliner that I've done something sort of like this before. It's definitely not something that's really new or shaking the table or anything, but before we start this graphic liner video, I wanted to say that pretty much all of these looks are going to be somewhat inspired by one of my mutuals over on Instagram. Her name is Summer Rose Makeup. I'll put an example up here of her graphic liner looks. She specifically really ignites my love for graphic liner. So if you're a big fan of that kind of work, go check out her Instagram. I will link it in the description as well. She does like so many cool combinations and like adds in metallics and stuff, and I just think her vision is very inspiring. So that being said, shout out to her. To start the first look, I want my eyes to be pretty much a blank canvas on the top lid. And I've said this before, but even when I want my eyes to have the appearance of being a very blank canvas, I usually will add a little bit of at least like a contour type shade through my crease, just because I have very, I like to call them doughy eyelids. They tend to lack shape in and of themselves. One is floppier than the other. This one sags more than this one does, if you guys haven't noticed. And so therefore, adding a little bit of contour to them helps, first of all, even them out, and second of all, just gives an overall more finished appearance to my eyes, even though it really may not even translate like I'm wearing any eyeshadow. So for today's look, I'm just going to go into this shade right here from the James Charles Morphe palette on a Morphe M441 brush. You can actually do this with your bronzer or your contour shade as well. A lot of times if I'm just like doing a quick look, I'll actually use Benefit Hoola bronzer and just go through my crease with it, and to be honest, it makes an incredible contour shade for the eyes, and it blends really nicely. But since I'm going to be using this palette later in this look anyway, I figured I might as well just dip into this while I have it here. Also, the Urban Decay Beach Bronzer in Bronzed, that one makes a great eye contour as well. So whenever I do a graphic liner, I like to map out where I'm going to put the line with something lighter than my actual liner before I start it. Sometimes I'll do this with an eyebrow pencil. Sometimes I like to do it with a nude shade, and today, because we're working on such a plain background, I am gonna do a nude shade. So I'm actually gonna use the Roller Eye Bright pencil that they sent me with the new roller liner in the little PR package that I got the other day. Forgive me if I don't talk a lot while I do this, because it's going to require immense amounts of concentration. And remember, this does not need to be super perfect or super smooth. You're just giving yourself a map of where you're gonna put that black liner so that you're not going in there willy-nilly and then realizing it's a completely different shape than the other side. Now remember, like I said, my lids are two different shapes, and so are yours. Pretty much everybody's are. So you don't need to worry too much about them being exact, but you want to just try to make sure that when you're looking at them face on in the mirror, that they're pretty much giving you the same effect. So now I'm going to pick up my eyeliner and I'm going to draw over that as carefully as possible. Also, I'm on an empty stomach and have been drinking iced coffee, and I do not recommend that as something you do before you do a graphic liner. This is the dumbest thing I've done in a long time. So I need to fix up a couple little things with the liner after that initial first swipe. Like right here, the shape isn't quite right, and I have a little bit of a thick spot there and a little bit of a mistake there. So to clean up those mistakes, I like to use something like a skin tone liner pencil, or what I'm gonna be using today is the skin tone section of my Brow Contour Pro. This is not a Benefit tutorial. This is not a Benefit sponsored tutorial or anything like that. I just happen to like this one for this purpose because it's very soft, so it's easy to draw it on the skin. Another one I like for this is the NYX Nude Eyeliner Pencil, but that one is a little more pink and a little harder, so it's not exactly as easy to use for something like this. This is basically like a little concealer stick. So I'm just gonna draw over my little mistakes with that to clean that line. When I was mapping this out, I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to do an entire classic wing across the top, but now that I have this on, I think I do. I'm gonna take my liner again, I'm just gonna draw in the rest of a wing like I normally would. For the lower lash line, I want to smoke it out a little bit, so that way we have a bit of like a texture difference between the top and bottom, which I think makes it a little bit more interesting. So for the waterline, I'm going to use the Urban Decay pencil in the color Woodstock, which is this neon pink. This is kind of a metallic shade, but I don't have any bright pinks that aren't, and just in the waterline, I don't think it's gonna kind of like interfere with the rest of the look. So I'm gonna bring that through my waterline, but I'm also gonna drag it just a little bit underneath and also pat out this huge fingerprint that I just made in my concealer. Yikes. Next, I'm gonna take my Sigma E30 pencil brush. I'm gonna go to this neon pink shade Skip from the James Charles Morphe palette. You could use any matte bright pink shadow you want. I'm just gonna put that underneath my lower lash line and smoke out the whole underneath portion of this with like neon pink. To finish off the eyeshadow and eyeliner portion of this look, I want to add a little bit of a pop of highlight to the inner corner. So I'm going to go into the Fenty Diamond Bomb, and I'm going to pack that directly into the inner corner. And I'm going to drag a little bit of that over the beginning of the pink. I'm also getting a little bit of it on the liner, and I'll go back in after I apply this and touch that up. But if you notice, the one place where I really didn't get this super even is this side touches in there and that side doesn't. We're gonna pretend we don't notice that. So with this color, I really love pairing this neon kind of a pink with other pinks and also with red. So for my cheeks, I'm going to go ahead and start highlighting before I put on any blush in the pinkish shade called Divinizer, and blending that pink highlight right into the pink eyeshadow, because why not? So now I want to pair this look, and I know you're gonna say, wow, Nicole, what are you thinking? I'm gonna pair it with a bright red lip. It gives me 80s vibes. It gives me Gwen Stefani in the ex-girlfriend video vibes. So today I'm using my favorite matte red lipstick. This is the Fenty Stunna Lip Paint in Uncensored. And this is the first graphic liner look. Okay, so look number 2 is probably the least classically graphic out of the bunch. Fun story, actually not kind of an annoying story actually. I did a look like this a long time ago, and I posted it on Instagram, and it was inspired by Katie, aka Luster Lux, who I was just beginning my obsession with at the time, and I loved her look and I recreated it and I posted it on Instagram, and then Tarte reposted that look. It was like the first time Tarte ever reposted me, and I was so excited, and everybody in the comments came for me like fucking crazy, trying to say that I copied Katie. Meanwhile, I credited her the whole time, and everybody was being so mean to me. So anyway, for those wondering, yes, this is inspired by Katie, and not only will I be doing this look inspired by Katie, I will also be using her palettes. But anyway, I digress. I'm gonna be mixing the shades Churro and Necessary. I'm taking this Luxe 121 brush, and I'm just gonna use that to start defining my crease. So I'm gonna make a wing with the black liner, but first I'm going to kind of map out where I'm putting that black line with my shadow, because we're going to shade in the inside of the black line with various shadows anyway. So to start our little guide, I'm gonna go into the shade Churro, a MAC 268S brush, and I'm gonna stamp the bottom line of a wing, bring it out pretty far. And I'm going to do the same thing on the top, but usually when I do this, I kind of sweep it down toward the lid. Today, I'm going to kind of make it straight. I'm gonna take a Sigma E06 brush. This is just a tiny winged liner brush, and I'm just gonna use that to pack a little bit of that color onto the inside of that shape that we just made and blend it out lightly. Now that we got this little shapey shape down, we're gonna go back in and obviously blend this more and add more colors to it, but might as well get in there and start working on the outer liner portion of it first. So I'm picking up my liquid liner again. I'm just gonna trace along the outer edge of this here and then do the same thing on the top, tapering it to get skinnier as it gets in toward the lid where we faded away that shadow. And I'm going to go into the darker brown shade here called Cheens. And I'm gonna use that just to fill in the outer portion where it looks a little bit like there's a gap. Now to add a little bit of a different texture and a little bit of a different color to this look, I'm going to go into a Moment, which is my favorite shade from this palette. And like I have in the past, I'm actually gonna use this on the inner corner, but this time I'm not gonna spread it up into the inner corner area as much. I'm just gonna place it on the inner corner of the lid and begin to blend it over onto this bare area before it starts to meet with these browns. I'm gonna pick up this LUXE 111 mini flat angle brush and I'm just going to blend the edge of it with that. Now for the center of that, I want to continue the blue and I want to continue a little bit more of the glitter, but I want it to be lighter. So I'm going to pick up this Mermaid's pigment from Peaches Makeup. And I'm picking that up on the same little flat brush and I'm going to pat that in the center of the lid. And I'm just lightly tapping it over the edge of that blue and lightly tapping over the edge of that brown to create a gradient. So for the lower lash line, I want it to be softly defined on the outer portion and we're going to brighten up the waterline and I'm going to reflect the color of that Peaches pigment right here on the underneath portion just to complete that shape. First, I'm going into the shade Necessary on a Real Techniques shading brush. I'm just gonna buff that into the lower lash line pretty much across the whole thing. I'm gonna grab that Sigma EO6 winged liner brush again and I'm going to use that to push the shade Cheens right into the outer portion. And what that's going to do is just continue the shape of that wing to the underneath portion of the eyes and balance it a little bit better. And on that LUXE mini brush, I'm just going to take some of that Peaches pigment and I'm going to just pat it right here where the blue meets the inner corner and the lower lash line. Okay, I popped on the same lashes and I finished up my skin and now we need to add a lip to this look. Now, if you wanted to make this look a little bit more on the wearable side, I would definitely suggest wearing it with something that's more like maybe the Dose of Colors My Main that came out along with the Friendcation collection. Just like a warm nude like that, I think would be very, very flattering and tone this down a touch. But I'm not trying to tone it down right now, so I'm going to pair this with a deep magenta lip. So I'm gonna line my lips with the Kat Von D lip liner in Homegirl and fill them with the liquid lipstick in Miss Argentina. And this is the second look. For the last look, I'm going to start by defining my crease softly again. This time, just to show you what I was talking about earlier, I'm going to use the Urban Decay Beach Bronzer in the color Bronzed. And I'm taking that on the same Morphe M433 brush. I'm just running that softly through my crease. So the inner corner on this look is going to be a pop of neon color, and I'm gonna put that down before I even do the liner because I'm going to be using a loose pigment and I don't want the pigment to get all over where I put the liner down because the liner is gonna be pretty thick this time. So I'm taking this bright neon yellow from the Stargazer Eye Dust. This is neon pigment number 202. And I'm picking that up on a pencil brush and I'm just gonna start packing that in my inner corner and blend that out as far as I feel like I want to. I'm not sure exactly. So for the actual liner, what I want to do is create a cutout. The first person I think I ever saw do this a long time ago was Melanie. I think her last name is Martinez, but she goes by Chaos Makeup Artist. She has a makeup company now, but she used to do cutout liners all the time. I've also definitely seen Depeche Girl do something like this before. To accomplish this sincerely difficult task, I went off camera and I took a piece of Scotch tape. I folded the tape in half and then I cut a triangle out of it and peeled the two pieces of that triangle away so that we had a relatively similar if not the same shape of a triangle of tape on each eye, and I tried to place them, just lining them up with the outside of my iris and then having the end of the tape be like right in the crease. This took a really long time, I'm not gonna lie to you. This was so tedious and difficult, but I think it's the only way we're possibly gonna get even remotely a nice looking cutout. Make sure that that tape is pressed down pretty firmly. And I'm gonna start creating a nice fat wing. I'm barely pressing down because I want to make sure that I'm not going to move the tape. And then once I have a better idea of exactly how I'm going to place the line, when I get closer to the tape, I press the tip into the tape itself first and then pull away from it. That way it doesn't move the tape off the eye. And essentially what I want to do is make sure that my wing looks like a complete wing the way that I would normally want it before I peel that tape away. So I'm just going to make sure all the edges, especially the top edge, is clean looking and looks like the actual shape that I want it to be. I'm gonna let that dry for just a second and then we'll have the moment of truth. I'm scared. Oh shit, it worked! Ah! There's one little bit right in there where it kind of, my eye has a little bit of a crease, so I need to touch that up, but outside of that, that worked pretty well. Okay, so the sides are not 100% perfectly even, but considering that I have never used that technique before, I'm actually very happy with how this came out, and I think it looks real cool. And I don't think that it'll even really be noticeable that they're not the same once we have lashes on. I'm going to go through the waterline with the Eye Bright pencil that we used earlier to map out our other look. I'm noticing that on this eye, the little point where the triangle of the tape ended, it kind of must have lifted when I was going over it because it's not quite a point anymore. So I'm gonna take a little bit of my concealer just on the nail art brush that I usually use in tutorials where I do lip art. And I'm just going to use that to define that little spot, make it a little bit deeper and more of an actual point. I don't want it to come all the way to the lash line necessarily because I'm gonna have a lash band over it anyway, but I do want it to be a little bit more triangular. Okay, that's a little bit better and that gives a bit more of the effect that I wanted. Okay, so I went ahead and threw on the House of Lashes Stella Luxe lashes again and styled my hair. And all we need to do to finish off this little look and this little video is add a lip. I'm not really sure why, but I'm always drawn to the way this looks with like an orangey brown, if that makes sense. I'm gonna pair this with Kat Von D Lolita lip liner, which is going to just give us a neutral depth, and then Lolita 2 liquid lipstick, which is like a nice orange terracotta, which is exactly what I like to pair this neon color with. And this is the last graphic liner look. All right guys, that's the third look done, and that is all for today. I hope you found this a little bit helpful if you were wondering about the new roller liner, and also if you were just itching for some more graphic, colorful, neon-y looks to maybe recreate. Please don't forget to leave a like on this video if you don't mind taking a second. Like literally, it's just one little click. It's so easy and it helps me so much. Especially if you found this video helpful or informative or entertaining or anything, all of the above, none of the above. Whatever. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe because I would absolutely love that. And also that way you don't miss out if we do some more fun makeup in the future, which we will. If you want to keep up with me between videos, I'm at Miss Quinn Face pretty much on every social platform, but the one that I absolutely use the most is Instagram. I'm at Miss Quinn Face over there. I run all sorts of Q&As over there and polls to see what we want to see next here on this channel. And I also post close-ups of my makeup as well as other stuff like lip art that I don't necessarily film. That ends up over there. So if you'd like to keep up with that, that's where to find it. You are probably sick of my face by now, so that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you, and I will see you in the next one.